Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try to become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Let's go! Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. I'm Skip.
And I'm Carlos.
How are you doing this week, Carlos?
This week, I'm doing fabulous. Skip, how are you? You just got back from stateside.
Yeah, just got back, not yesterday, but the night before that. So yeah, just back from stateside, still dealing with the jet lag because we were all the way on the West Coast. So it's significant.
and what a trooper. You were unwilling to not record, except for the one time when we just couldn't. But you're like, yeah, I can do it. We just got back yesterday. We can record tomorrow. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Not me, man. I need a day. I need a day before I do anything. Whenever there's a shift in my schedule, I need just like a period of time to recover at all times.
Yeah, well, as it turns out, it was nice that we didn't do it yesterday because so whenever I get sick, the first thing that happens is I'm just tired. It's like my main symptom. So I must be sick because we got back yesterday. I slept through the night and then I got up and ran some errands. I had to get money to pay the dog sitter and stuff, and came back and slept for another 6 hours and could have slept the rest of the day, but forced myself to get up. So something was going on and I was asleep when we would have been recording.
Yeah, you know, every single time I fly, you knock on wood because I'm flying in another month or so, I always get sick. Like I almost always catch something. I think this time I'm going to wear a mask or something, even if I'm ridiculed by the anti-vaxxers or whatever. But
Sure.
I think it's probably the smart thing for me to do because I don't want to miss. I don't want to arrive in Austin, then I'm sick for 3 days, and then yeah, or vice versa. Come back and then I got to go to work right away, and I'm sick.
Yeah, we were good. We were good on the way there, and everybody else seems to be fine. But I clearly got hit with something on the way back. Yeah, it took me down.
Yeah, well,
so
you're
I'm still dragging a little bit today, but
you're looking the picture of health. That was for anyone listening right now. Since you can't see, Skip did a bashful sort of sideways smile and looked off camera. It was lovely.
Yeah. I don't know about the picture of health because we've been back in the U.S. and every time we go back to the U.S., since we only go every 3 years or so, usually, it's what foods do we miss tour, So we ate like crap and we were always full and bloated and I'm so not used to all the American food has all the salt and all the fat. So just I'd go from being hungry to just oh my God, I can't even move. It's gross. Constantly. And yeah, both of us we got back and she's like, I don't think I've ever dieted in my life, but I'm going on a diet because I feel so gross. But it was nice to have those tastes from home. I can't leave the US out without having the jalapeno poppers at Jack in the Box a couple times because they're just one of my favorite things.
And even they're so gross, but they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
One big thing for me that's changed since I've been to the U.S. last is I've gone vegetarian. So there's already a whole lot of shit that I can just wipe off the menu, which I'm okay with. I was just talking to my father-in-law yesterday how they were talking about the fried chicken they're going to buy or whatever. And I don't miss meat. I've every time someone talks about eating a steak or they talk about this meat meal they're having, and I reflect on it, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of have this expectation that I'm going to be like, oh man, yeah, I really miss that, and I don't. I really don't miss it at all. So it was a nice sort of realization that I'm perfectly fine as a vegetarian, and I think I'll be doing that for the foreseeable future.
That's really nice. Yeah, I mean, I feel like as I've aged, my body has changed what it wants. Because when I was younger, I couldn't get. If I didn't have meat with a meal, I was starving afterwards. Didn't matter how much I ate, I was just starving. And I wouldn't even like eat salad and vegetables. It was ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
I called like most fruits just water shapes because they were just. I was like, they're just mostly water. They don't do anything. But now that I've gotten a little older, suddenly, for the first time in my life, I'm like, salad sounds really good.
Yeah.
And my body's just it's changing. And yeah, I'm trying. Like we only eat chicken for the most part, but I'd love to go vegetarian. I'm not sure if I could do it, but it's appealing. The idea is appealing to me, and I'm definitely moving that direction
I think
slowly.
you definitely could. It's just you have to find the right motivation as well. I think also when I first started out for a couple months, I was full on vegan. The only thing that I would never give up would be honey.
Mm.
I love honey too much. I put it in anything and everything, and I could never give that up. And I feel like, well, that is like pretty devastating for a bee colony to just like snatch all their food that they've worked so hard on. I don't think I could. I don't think I could give that up. But I do think if I wasn't married or just sort of like keeping somebody else like in mind as far as food goes, I think it'd be a lot easier to be vegan. But like I'd always heard going vegan is really hard because it's hard to cut cheese out of the diet, and
Yeah.
that's not a problem for me. But Jody loves cheese, and so when it's there, I was like, well, I'll just eat cheese. So
Cheese is pretty wonderful.
I like cheese. I could go without it though. I could go without it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I could go without it most of the time, but the idea of not being able to eat pizza or cheese on some of my Mexican food, that's hard. That's hard.
There's no point to Mexican food if there's not cheese involved.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So yeah, well, there are certain cuisines that it's absolutely necessary. So
yeah.
So give me a highlight. What was the highlight of your trip in the U.S.?
Highlight is definitely Yosemite. Yosemite is just so beautiful. Yeah. We grew up going to Yosemite, so there's like all that kind of romantic youth callback, their nostalgia, I guess, of going there when I was younger, and like we'd be in a cabin outside, not in Yosemite, but outside of Yosemite that we'd stay at, and I'd go just like run around in the woods and try and get lost and fail at that. But and then just seeing those, just like these, gosh, I mean, if you've never been there, like
I haven't actually. I've never been.
Oh wow, like just these gigantic mountains of solid granite, and it's just like between that and we went out we were at Tahoe with Jess's family, and we'd go look at the stars. Me and Jess did. Nobody else would go with us. We'd go look at the stars at night over the lake because there's a huge area with no light pollution. I mean, there's some around the lake, but you can see kind of that lighter color of the Milky Way going through the sky, and between those just massive slabs of granite, and some of them like Half Dome have just been sheared by glaciers and stuff like that, and looking out at the stars and the Milky Way, like what a great way to, in such a comforting way, feel insignificant and small. It's so beautiful out there. And just like the thing that I don't always remember is just like the smell of like the woods and the dirt and like the dust kicked up from the trail. It just like fills me up, man.
How much of that vibe can you get from, what is it? Is it the 101 that goes up north to south through the center? How much of that can you get from the 101? Because I've been up there. I've been that way a couple times in my life.
I mean, it's the 101's very pretty, but like Yosemite's something completely different.
Yeah. Okay.
In my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like the 101, you're like among the mountains rather than like at the foot of them. You know what I mean? You're
sure
high up at elevation anyway.
Yeah, and you can do the same thing in Yosemite, and you can climb up mountains and things like that, and just look out, and it's just it's amazing. It's a really amazing thing, and I was really hoping to do a hike to where I asked Jessica to marry me, but it did not work out, unfortunately. So I made it quite hard for myself to get back there.
Oh, just you wanted it to be like a good spot, or what? Or when you proposed, or what?
So when I proposed, we went. It's part of the John Muir Trail.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it's I think it's in the Ansel Adams Woods, but in any case, it's like a 7 or 8 mile trek up and into the woods and up to a high elevation lake. So over 10,000 feet. And we were there in June, and like there was literally nobody there except us because it was so remote, and I asked her to marry me there, and like just to kind of get an idea of how high up and desolate, or like how high up this beautiful kind of alpine lake is. Like on the way down in June in California, it snowed on us.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, real high up, but that does make it hard to get to. We could have made it, but then there was like the place that we were going. We found out was closed, and you had to take a 40-minute shuttle just to get in, and it just would have added like hours to our trip,
Right.
so it just didn't
Right.
seem feasible. Plus, we've got our 8-year-old who's can be like really into hiking some days and just total wiener the other days. so you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something, because during my trip you said that kind of sealed the deal and you're going back to Austin because it just kind of inspired you to commit and go back. What are the things that you're looking forward to the most about going back to Austin for?
Just the atmosphere, really. I mean, I'm kind of torn emotionally between that, because last time I was there, as I said before, is like a totally different vibe. It wasn't the same place from where I grew up, and it wasn't really recognizable to me anymore. So many people, the freeways expanded. It's just bustling now, and it was just not the same sort of atmosphere that I grew up in. So it was really easy for me, as I said, to leave last time. But anyway, it is still like all my family's in Texas, or most of it anyway. And yeah, I'm looking forward to. I mean, even though it's a change of atmosphere, it's still the same place that I spent
Right.
30 years of my life. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm looking forward to some bookstores that like independent bookstores that I haven't been to. Some of the used bookstores that I haven't been to in years. Food is a big part.
What is it? Is it Thunderbirds burritos?
Thunderbird subs, I think. No, Thundercloud subs.
Oh, no. I was thinking of a burrito place for sure.
I don't know
But
it. I don't know it.
Maybe I'm making it up. Let's cut this.
Yeah. There's so many though, man. Like
Yeah.
really, dude. Like I'm not interested in any sort of like anglicized Mexican food at all. Like
Sure.
I'll go for the Tex-Mex and Mexican,
Yeah.
like straight Mexican. But anything sort of like more hybridized, I'm not super interested in, because I can get burritos here. There's one place actually that has pretty familiar like white burritos that are good. But yeah, no, I want the good stuff. And specifically the salsa. So yeah, food, some bookstores, just some sort of areas. I'm really looking forward to going to South Congress Avenue, where like all the little hipster shops are.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've hit an era in my life where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to go shopping for the house. And I'm okay with that, man. Like we still have a lot of like filling to do in our house. So like a lot of the walls are sort of empty, and looking for things like that. And I want to not, and I've spent some time, dude. Like I remember when a buddy of mine, we were, shared a duplex together when I was in college, and we moved in. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this in the walls here. We do this in the walls. And we lived there for like 3 years, and it looked like we just moved in the entire time we were there. And I've done that multiple times in my life, and I'm ready to not do that. So, yeah, we've been here for a few months now, and we should have some more decor on the wall. And
yeah, no, we came home from this trip, and it's the first time we've really been away, because we moved in January, and we were gone for 3 weeks, and we came back and walked in. We're like, place is kind of empty, isn't it? Like, and we have a bunch of stuff that we haven't hung up, just because, I guess partially because we got kicked out of our last place for whatever reason and moved into this place, and we were not like that enthused, and we were also thinking about moving to like Spain or something like that. So it just didn't feel like home. We didn't feel like dressing it up. But then we came home, and it's just kind of blank in a lot of places.
yeah,
Like we do have stuff on the walls, but like in our entryway in particular, it's pretty blank.
yeah.
And it wasn't the most welcoming room to come home to.
Now, was that by comparison to the places you were staying in the States? Like you kind of saw like a different sort of living, and then you came back to what you've been in?
Well, it's like the walls are blank. But yeah, there's so much more consumerism in the US. There's so much more
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like we were walking around Target, because my wife gets gift certificate or gift cards that from like students and stuff when she's teaching at the end of the year. And like obviously there's no Targets here. So she gets them, and whenever we go back, we're like, okay, let's go find some board games or whatever, or like underwear or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But it's really easy to walk around and just be like seduced by the consumerism. Like, oh, there's so many things right here, and I don't really need this thing. But now that I see it, like, actually, I do kind of need this thing, and I've been thinking about, like, it's all set up to be so easy, and everything's made to look nice and be like affordable, and just like squeak out those dollars, man, squeak out those dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was saying that when they were young, they used to call that the $100 store because you couldn't get out for less than $100, and Costco was the $200 store. And and yeah, I've never had that experience because I was, a young male, and I'd go in and just buy like 2 DVDs at from the $5 bin or whatever. But yeah.
Well, we're living in a unique time, man, as far as consumerism goes, because I mean, I don't know how, I guess comparatively, any sort of rich country in the past, you could maybe make the same comparison, but just the way we're so spread out globally, and you can get things manufactured all over the world for nothing, and then come bring it back and sell it for almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the States because it's not quite the same thing elsewhere. I mean, we'll see if that remains the case in the near future for the U.S. But yeah, we're living in a time of material pleasures, and
yes,
I think that is almost the folly of the U.S. of American citizens, because they don't. I think by and large they don't realize all the stuff they've got, like material stuff. I mean, once that goes away, like, that's when people revolt. They're like, I want my stuff. And if I can't have my stuff, then they're paying attention to what's actually going on. And yeah, no, I'm being cynical, but yeah, we live in a unique time is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Okay, Skip, well, I had sent you an article a few weeks ago, so this is definitely dated, but I kind of want to categorize it under the manthropology, right? Is that what you had introduced some time ago?
Yeah. The idea of, it's manosphere adjacent, but it's not necessarily from the manosphere. It's studying the culture of men and the way they impose themselves on the world, I guess.
Yes.
So, yeah,
yes.
manthropology.
And to be clear, this is a resolved conflict here, but it's just kind of a study, as you said, of manthropology. And so the article is Topless Tuesday back on after liquor regulators force small New Brunswick resort to cancel event. It was written by a woman named Victoria Walton from the CBC. And in short, there's a spa called Hope Wellness Eco Resort, and they were doing an event called Topless Tuesday. It was the first time they'd ever done it before, and the event was capped at 12 registrants, all women, and all the staff was going to be women. It was not going to be public. It was not going to be making the headlines other than this article, but it was quickly squashed by the Department of Public Safety, because it violates the term of their liquor license. I guess they have a liquor license at the spa, because their event was going to be categorized under exotic entertainment for 12 women with all female staff in a private setting who happen to be topless in this spa. It's a topless spa event.
So it's not the staff that's, just to be clear, it's not the staff that's topless. It's the ladies in the spa.
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that could change something if the staff was. I got the impression it was just the participants who
I would imagine it's just the participants that are just like wanting to relax and
Yeah, so they would have needed an exotic license, which would have cost $750, and it might not be even approved for that event. There was a lot of blowback, and it was forced to be canceled. But the community rallied around. Well, thousands and thousands of comments, I guess, online from women around the world had something to say about it. And they were greenlit, and they, quote, received a call the day before stating that they had done a review on the event and their Topless Tuesday could move forward. So, yeah, they had a bit of bad publicity, and the government sort of backed down. Now, one could easily say, well, this was a sort of like tax grab. Like, New Brunswick is a pretty poor province. Mm-hmm. And they might just be trying to squeeze every sort of nickel out of every instance of tax possibilities they can. So it's like, oh, here's $750 we could bring into the province.
Sure.
Or this could, I mean, probably both. It seems to be more of like a male decision, and that these, I don't know, what do you think? Before I start labeling
a prudish will imposed upon women that just want to like hang out. and like not wear a bunch of constricting stuff while they're relaxing at a spa.
Sure.
I mean, that's the first thing. It just sounds like something real prudish and mannish to be like, well, I'm not women hanging out without their tops on. It's
they might get ideas.
It's improprietous, and I'm not there, which makes me upset. And yeah, it just sounds like somebody kind of pushing their will on people, and the way that, I don't know, happens a lot, especially in like prudish areas or rural areas sometimes. But the idea that like there's something lascivious about women going to a spa topless, like that's how it's done in most of the world, like even co-ed,
Yeah. Well, yeah. So this is a little, it's a small example of a small issue in a small part of North America, but we are in North America, and we've both lived. Well, you live in Europe now, and I've lived there as well. There's a big, big difference in modesty, and I mean that's a euphemism, I guess, because I guess sexuality, really, because I mean the amount of toplessness that I saw just in Prague alone, people sunning themselves in public parks. The amount of dicks I saw from just guys changing their clothes with like kids running around. You know what I mean? Like just again in public parks, and people don't get upset by it. Like it's not that big a deal. They're just
the human body. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, if this dude's changing clothes, he's got an erection or something, I guess I can see like people kind of moving away from him.
That probably wouldn't be the best time to change your clothes. You might want to wait. If nothing else, just because your shorts might get caught up or whatever.
Just wait. Yeah, just wait. It's going to be a second. But yeah, I mean, like, people just don't care, man. It's not that big a deal. I don't know. What's your vibe on prudishness in the States and Canada and versus Europe?
I feel like in the States we're very repressed. Everything's hypersexualized because everything is taboo. Like the idea that, I mean, just it's wild, the difference between there and the rest of the world. So like here, I'll go to the gym, and after I go and work out or whatever, I'll get in the sauna, and it's a co-ed sauna, and people aren't wearing clothes. And, you might wear a towel, but you also might not.
Right.
And, and like, especially if you're a lady, if you feel forced to cover up and wrap yourself up and you're already in a sauna, like that's a lot more. Like if as a guy, I only have to wrap up my junk, and it's just kind of normal in a lot of places. And, I remember a time, and it's definitely gotten culled back a bit, but where you'd walk around the town and like there'd be just magazines of naked ladies, or like you'd be in a tram and there'd be like an air freshener hanging from the tram driver's window that had like naked women on it or something, like, and it was just like not a big deal. And obviously they enjoyed it, and that's why it was there. But at the same time, the idea that a kid might see a boob wasn't like the end of the fucking world. It's like, it's part of the human body. The only reason why it's so weird or taboo or sexualized is because we don't see them that often, and we hide them away. And then there's this whole like free the nipple movement that's, I think, bigger with younger people, and just like the idea that there is sort of this double standard about how we have to dress and what we have to cover. But these women, for me, I mean, in my mind, specifically this situation, they probably just didn't want to feel constrained. They wanted to relax. And the fact that there were no men around to ogle them or make it weird was probably nice. And maybe the guy doesn't like that they're naked. Maybe the guy doesn't like that it's a women's only event. Who knows? Maybe it was for the $750 in tax, but it clearly wasn't an exotic dancing scenario. So like it was a stretch.
I mean, the only thing that made it exotic was that doesn't happen every day, I guess. But it wasn't sexualized. They weren't doing any. They weren't. Yeah, well, use your imagination. They weren't doing anything out of the ordinary. They were just happened to be topless, which is what men do every day when they go swimming.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just kind of a silly thing. I thought when you had posted this, I saw on our notes Topless Tuesday, and I was thinking about the kind of thing that they used to do here, which was like they'd have a Topless Tuesday where the waitress was topless
Right.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. But the idea that like you'd shut down like women in a spa just for like relaxing seems crazy to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, a topless wait staff is definitely appealing to sexuality. Like that's not something that they're not like, oh, I want to be free while I'm serving.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, just a small example of, I don't know, of the male dominated society where women, I mean, you can be arrested for that in places, you know, in the US anyway, like going topless. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm not wearing a shirt and I can go to jail for that. You know what I mean? Or heavily fined for that. Give me a break, man. It's, I don't know.
I mean, at most, take away my service. Right? No shoes, no shirt, no service.
Yeah,
but
there you go. I like it. Yeah, no shirt, no shoes and shirt, no top, no service.
Yeah, yeah. No big deal.
I remember living in San Francisco and how, again, the amount of dicks that I saw there. Just like I remember seeing a dude, well, on multiple occasions, but this one guy sitting at a cafe, like an outdoor cafe, wearing shoes and a fanny pack, and he was sitting on a towel, just naked. Beautifully tanned, like from head to toe, just
leathery, lizard-like.
Yes, or you'll just see a guy like walking down the road with shoes on, and nothing else. Maybe some sunglasses and a hat or something like that, but like just naked. And like I don't care. Like it doesn't bother me to see nudity. It's not that big a deal. It's not. I mean, even if I had a kid, they might point like that guy's not wearing clothes. I'll go, yeah, he looks really relaxed. That must be nice to be so free. You walk around nude, you know?
Yeah. Well, and me coming from Northern California, so I lived in Chico and I lived in Grass Valley. Both of those are towns with rivers running through them, and you know, everywhere, or like you'll go to lakes. If you go far enough up any river, there's a brown naked guy on a rock. like without fail. There's always some naked guy somewhere just living it up, getting their George Hamilton skin on, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I think like when I was young, it was like, oh, okay, weird. I don't want to see that. But like, it wasn't a big deal. It was just like, all right, I don't want to see this old naked guy that's all tanned like a purse, you know.
Well, you notice it because you don't see it every day. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, it wouldn't be that big a deal if it was just a common thing. Not naked men necessarily, but just naked people. You know, it's not that big a deal.
No, it's not that big of a deal. And now I would just be like, all right, man, whatever. It's not a big deal at all. But I guess this is a very dickful podcast.
I've wanted to get it off my chest for a while. You know, this is all the dicks that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of them here. Like, I know that it's something that Jess said early on. She was like, I've seen a lot of dicks in the city, you know, like, and women, I think, see more than men because men will expose themselves, you know, on purpose. Not like, I don't think like flasher, but like, I think that they will kind of make themselves a little more obvious just to women sometimes.
Yeah, they're kind of floating the idea of sex or something. I remember, that restaurant Cafe. It's on, I forget where it is, but it's right in the center of Prague. Anyway, so I remember having breakfast there. It was this big plate glass window to the street, and this guy just like whipped his dick out and was pissing like right in front of, like on a tree right in front of the window. I was like, well, I guess when you got to go. I saw a lot of guys peeing, just like, they got to pee and they just do it.
Czech Republic is like the most dude-peeingist place around. I've never seen, and I've seen articles about it where like that it's just like okay to pee everywhere for dudes here.
Yeah.
And you see it constantly. I'll never forget, like, whenever I do the Prague Marathon, you'd come to like the first corner and there'd just be like a big wall where there's just like a line of guys peeing immediately right out of the gate. And it's not like there's no place to pee. You know, and it's really common to see like kids peeing in the street where like the little boys will pee and standing up, and the little girls, they'll like hold them like with their back on their chests and their legs folded up, so it's just like their butt pointing down, and they're like squeezing a lemon almost. Like, yeah. And I it's so common, it's so normal. I remember at a place I lived, people that were in our building were peeing in the street in front of our building. Like, you live here, you have a key. Your bathroom is like 60 steps away. Yeah. But they were peeing in the street.
You reminded me when I first got to Prague, the first job I had, totally under the table, by the way, like no background check, whatever. It was like a preschool, an English preschool. They're like, yeah, you speak English, you're hired. And I remember being on the playground with a bunch of kids, and the little girl had to pee. And I noticed that right away. Whenever like the kids had to pee, they were like, oh yeah, go in the bushes. And I was like, what? Yeah. These kids are just like peeing out in the open like this, which whatever. I mean, if anyone should pee out in the open, it should be kids, I guess. But anyway, this little girl had to go, and her English was very limited. And so I was like, yeah, go ahead. And she was like, no. And she I remember she showed me, because I'd never seen that like lemon squeezing
technique.
Technique before.
Yeah.
And you literally, like, the kid stands in front of you, you grab them behind their knees, you lift them up, the little girl, you lift them up where like their back is kind of pressed against your thighs and their butts just like pointed out, and then they pee. And but she showed me how to do it with gestures. She was like slapping my forearms and like slapping her legs, and I thought it was a really funny thing as a little kid showing me how to like lift her off the ground so she can urinate.
I only pee in the air, sir.
Yeah. My feet cannot touch the ground while I pee. But it's pretty effective, because then it's just a jet of pee. Like they're not going to get on their legs. They don't have to squat far. It's it works. Moving on.
No, let's talk about pee a lot longer.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're off the rails.
We're nailing this episode. Yeah.
Okay, Skip. Well, it's been a while since we looked at the White Privilege: Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack by Peggy McIntosh. So I kind of wanted to go over maybe one or two, if you're up for it.
I am up for it.
Okay. So as a reminder, this is an article published in the 80s about a woman who first examined her own or male privilege, and how that kind of evolved into white privilege, and how she began examining her own white privilege and wrote out a list of 50 statements designed to make you think, not you, but designed to make her think of what she's got, and maybe kind of what others might not have, or what others would work harder to get and
have to deal with on a daily basis. Yeah.
Sure.
So she examined her white privilege, and she's like, actually, this is pretty dope.
Right.
Like,
and yes, I guess so. I don't know. I'm not sure what she concluded. But the idea is that there's a segment of the population, in this case white, who are born with an invisible knapsack full of tools to help them get through society in maybe a more advantaged way. So the first one was, I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. We did discuss that one previously. Second one, and this is one I did say on the episode where we talked about it. I think one could argue is a little bit dated, but maybe not. I mean, who knows? I mean, I've never had this issue, and maybe that's my privilege. And number two says, if I should need to move, I can be pretty sure of renting or purchasing housing in an area which I can afford and in which I want to live. What do you think about that statement?
So yeah, I think there's a bit of a datedness to that, mostly because I think that we are so economically separated at this point that there's going to be a lot of people that feel that way,
right?
Whether they're white or not,
right?
But I definitely see, like, thinking back to just like how Prague used to be, like the area that I live in, Žižkov, it used to be, people would say like it was the gypsy area. So like it was cheaper because there were a bunch of people that other people didn't want to be around, and like that. And if the people that lived there wanted to move, if you were of Romani heritage and you wanted to move to a different area, it might have been more expensive because you weren't essentially in an area that people didn't want to be, sort of kind of that white flight thing,
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I see where it's coming from, but I think it's just so goddamn expensive to live now that
Yeah,
like everybody feels that way,
right. I, w-
unless you're wealthy.
I will say, you reminded me that Jody, when when she was previously married, when she got divorced and she moved out of her old home, she got a flat in Malovanka, which is an area of
Hmm.
Prague. And before she did, the landlord wanted to meet her because
Mm,
even though she has a Czech name, her last name is a Czech name. Jody
yeah,
is not a Czech first name.
right.
So she knew she was a foreigner, and she wanted to meet her before
Yeah,
she approved of the leasing agreement. And once she did, she was like, "Okay, yeah, it's fine." I mean, she was even reluctant, even though Jody speaks Czech. She was even reluctant to rent it out to Jody, but she was looking for an Arab or something like that. And that's
yeah.
what she wasn't going to rent to. So yeah. Whereas it might be dated in a lot of ways in the States, in which I mean, and certainly it isn't in all places. There are a lot of parts of the world where it's absolutely the reality of a minority group where they can't get housing. And you mentioned the Roma, which I think it's become a slur now, but
Hmm.
you're referring to what's been known in the past as the Gypsies,
Yeah, yeah,
and they are a group in the Czech Republic and a lot of Europe that are really, really just crapped on. And yeah, that's definitely a group where people are looking to see, okay, if you are part of the Roma population, do I want you as a neighbor? Absolutely not. In most
yeah,
cases, I'd say, and I am generalizing, but I think that's the case for a lot of
yeah.
Czechs. They don't want to be living next door to Roma.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been pretty bad in the Czech Republic. In fact, like years and years ago, and I'll have to dig up the news story if I'm going to talk about it. But there were doctors that were sterilizing gypsy women without their consent, and
Hmm.
like just really like human rights violations kind of stuff.
Right. Right.
Because the Czechs are, it's getting better, but the Czechs are and have been for a long time very homogenous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a very white. Even the expats that come, most of them are white. There's more people of color coming now, but like it's not an easy language. It's not super accepting culture right off the bat. So like it's been one of the places in Europe that's been real slow to change demographically, and there's some reasons for that. uh,
Yeah, well, yes, and you reminded me of a couple things, specifically regarding the Roma, because this does connect to what we were talking about as far as like renting, purchasing a housing where they want to live. But it's more of a race topic, I guess. I remember when I first arrived, my then girlfriend, she was telling me, well, when you're in the subway, be careful for the gypsies and this and this and this, because
mhm,
like if there's a group that's going to pick your pocket, it's going to be the gypsies.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, I've heard of gypsies. Like, I don't know what they look like. I don't know. Like, can you describe them? Like, she went on this long sort of, and she wasn't racist. She just was of a time and of a group, and this is what she learned. And she thought she was doing me a favor by like
Mhm,
warning me to beware of this group because they might steal from you. And I said, okay, well, who are they? Like, I don't even know what they look like. And so she, whenever she would see like one or two, whatever, she would kind of like subtly point them out. And then I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, look, like this is the problem. And I probably made her feel really bad. Actually, I was like, this is the problem with progress. Like, I'm a child coming into this culture, not knowing
mhm,
anything about this group, and rather than developing my own experiences and my own opinions and my own perspective, you've just taught me to be racist towards this group,
mhm,
and you'll do that to your children, and they'll do that to their children, and it just perpetuates itself. So yeah, I mean, I went in there with a completely open mind, and right away was told this group will rob you,
right, right,
and they never had a chance. They never had a chance for me to get to know them. I mean, I right away I shut that down. I'm like, yeah, I'll make up my own mind. And
yeah,
statistically, that might be true that they are the ones, or not the ones, they are committing more crime than others, but there are societal reasons for that. And
right.
and and the same reason you can say, well, African Americans are jailed more in the U.S. per capita than any other group. Well, it's like, what's the reason for that? There's actually a reason for that, and that's just
There's a
laws.
lot
Or
of different reasons for that, yeah.
yeah, there's lots of reasons for that. Another example is the years I spent teaching English there. I would have student after student, like the topic of the Roma culture would come up. And these people were my students didn't know each other. Like, it was rare that
Mm-hmm.
they knew each other. Every now and then, like, oh yeah, I know so and so, but they generally didn't know each other. Generally were of a certain socioeconomical class where they were well-to-do, and they were whether they earned it themselves or whatever, but they were doing fine. I did have some students that weren't wealthy and they weren't middle class or whatever, but they spat out the same information,
Mm-hmm.
and oftentimes they would give me the same talking points about the Roma, of like
Mm-hmm.
why they're this, why they're that, and I would always point it out to them. I say, look, I've been here for X amount of years now. I have heard the exact same negative thing about the Roma that you're telling me now from people that you don't know. You have zero
Mm-hmm.
experience with, like the
Right.
exact same examples. Like, oh, they're given government housing and they destroy it, and they'll pull up the same photos on their phone. Look at this.
Right.
Look at the house before. Look at the house after. I mean, you guys are like, pay attention to what you're watching, what you're consuming, because you're being fed the same information. And that's a lesson for all cultures and the power of media, because you're when you're repeating the same narrative, you're just following blindly into something, and you're not thinking critically anymore. And that's what I hoped I had gotten across to some people. But
Well, and like the thing that I think about it immediately is if those are different people that don't know each other and they're pulling up the same photos, there aren't a myriad of photos proving this. There's
yeah,
one set of photos, one time, and like of course, I had people that were white expats that I rented to when I left the country for a year. I had a flat that I wanted to keep, and so I rented it out to them, came back, and they fucking destroyed the place. It was it was a mess, and I could have taken pictures of that and been like, "Don't rent to white expats."
yeah,
But that's not like you can't take one bad example and stretch it out to an entire people.
right.
Like it's the whole thing about people treat minorities as monoliths, and that doesn't make any kind of sense. Like it's a
Right.
whole bunch of people. All people are different, and yeah.
Well, another example, and this is probably something that'll come up in another statement from the unpacking the invisible knapsack. I would always point out racism by, well, this is a Czech example, but this is not limited to the Czech Republic at all. But in the context, this is when I would point it out, is a lot, like, especially when the whole the Syrian country like collapsed, or
Hmm.
Syria collapsed, and they were migrating to Europe, and there was like people were closing borders, and they went all over the place. A lot of my students would complain that, like, well, they want to come here and they want to change everything. If they're going to live here, they need to do it the Czech way. I'm like, there's no data to show that they're trying to like morph your neighborhood into like a Islamic republic. Like, there's no information on that. There's just a fear, and the racism that I would point out is like, look at me, for example, because they all liked me. Well,
Hmm.
I'm guessing. I said, look at me, for example. I've been here for 6 years. I don't speak the language. I'm
Right.
teaching you my language so that
Right.
I can get by. Like, I am doing exactly what you most fear in your culture. Is I'm changing your culture to fit my needs. And there was no problem with that whatsoever. And I was like, and the reason that is because I'm an American. I'm a white American. If I'd been from Nigeria doing exactly the same thing, who knows what they would have? Well, I guess I do know what they would have been concerned about. It would have been it would have been a problem. But because it was American and I'm speaking English and they want that, it was fine. But if I had been of an Arabic state and wanting a mosque in place of a cathedral or church or whatever, like, that was a problem.
Yeah. No, I had always kind of had a mild disconnect or ill feeling about kind of when I came here and I was teaching English and I was training English teachers and things like that, that the only way I knew how to live in this place that I loved was to systematically turn it more Western and more like the country that I came from, that I left because I liked it better here. So like, yeah, exactly. We're doing the exact thing that they're afraid of, but it's okay because of the culture that we come from. So and the big difference is how they perceive that culture, and the biggest part of that's probably race based and things like that. But yeah, getting back to the original question, we did say that maybe it was dated a little bit because it's just really hard to move now because everything's expensive. But
Mhm.
both you and I are people that can pass and at least like get by with with a lot of the advantages. So maybe this is something that is still strongly true that we're just not even aware of because we haven't had to deal with it as much.
Right. Well, or really much at all. I will say the only
Yeah.
difference, this isn't about housing, but I remember there was a
Yeah.
period in the late aughts where my sister independently,
Hmm.
we were having trouble like finding work and this and this. And she was saying, I was thinking about changing my last name on my resume so that she wouldn't sound Hispanic, which our last name doesn't sound super Hispanic. It sounds different, but it doesn't seem super Hispanic. And I had already done that on mine. I changed my first
Hmm.
name. I was like, well,
Right.
I don't want them to be like, oh, he's going to be this Mexican guy, because they had,
Yeah.
like I said before, they had an expectation of who I was and what I looked
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and where I'm coming from. But yeah, I mean, that's not something that I think a lot of people have to really, a lot of like white Americans, I guess, have to really think about. But yeah, I mean, you look at my name, and you're gonna have an idea of what I am and do. Am I gonna fit in the workplace with all that sort of cultural baggage that you assume I'm carrying? You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, and yeah, I don't know if you're aware of this, but that's actually like a huge study that they've conducted in the past and numerous times where they'll send out identical resumes, and the only difference is one will have a very white sounding name and one will have a very culturally black sounding name.
Hmm.
And the hiring rates or the calls for interviews and stuff are drastically different,
Right.
just because of the name. The rest of the experience, the education, everything else was identical, and it literally is just the name that made such a big difference. So yeah, just kind of inherent racism. And then the fun thing is, and I say fun very sarcastically, is that as we move forward using AI and these automated machine learning kind of things, one of the things they do is they train on the data of the past. So if you've got in your past data systematic kind of racist or systematically beneficial towards one population practices, then the computer that's trying to make decisions about whether people are good or bad hires, that kind of like, and a lot of times they just run these things through AI now.
Hmm.
um, AI is going to look at past successful hires. So if you've been hiring people with white sounding names, it's going to say that those people are better applicants because
Right.
it doesn't know the difference between different kinds of data. So it doesn't know the difference between qualifications and a name or an age. It looks at all the different variables and it says, well, this is a strong indicator. So if you've mostly hired white people in the past, AI is going to continue having you hire white people
Right.
because that's going to be one of the most uniform pieces of data for it to like analyze.
And then you have assholes like Elon Musk who are tweaking their AIs to be less quote unquote woke, and they just switch to Nazi right away.
Right. Yeah. More and more Hitlery. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, it just defaulted to it too. I mean, you take out that little slice of like equity, and it just right away went to extremism.
Well, and it's not the only time that they've tried to fiddle with it and have it do that. There was the thing with the white refugees from South Africa as well, where it tried to where you for a period of time, any search, any kind of question you had would take like a sharp right turn into it'd be like, hey, what are the best types of music for a 90s party? And it'd be like, la 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 la, by the way, did you know that the white genocide in South Africa is really
Wow.
bad?
And that was
Yeah,
Grok. That was Elon
that was
Musk's.
Grok. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Okay.
like, yeah, back when there was, they had the we'd shut off so much of refugees coming into the country, and then we accepted like 59 South African refugees, and then
I
it was
can't
a big
even
deal.
even calling them refugees, dude, is like,
Well, it's
oh
ridiculous.
my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. Sorry.
But yeah, and so in any case, there was like that kind of big we'll use the word furor about it. And and then yeah, they programmed Grok to like turn all the conversations, and it was just like so horror, as it has been several times when they've reprogrammed it, really horrendously obvious that they're monkeying around to get exactly what they want instead
Yeah,
of
and
letting the algorithms work.
And you see them actively do what's happening right now is they're actively trying to change the narrative in the United States right now and the world by tweaking the AI and just shifting public perspective. And they're actively doing that. They're trying hard to do it. It's just sounding like a Nazi, like every time. So they're having a hard time with it. So hopefully that'll continue.
Yeah, hopefully the hard time will continue. Anyway,
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Not the Nazism.
not the eugenics.
Yeah.
They'll just rebrand it. It'll be called Newgenics.
Newgenics.
Carlos.
Yes.
Do you want to fall in love?
Please, let's fall in love.
All right. Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time, and why haven't you done it?
Well, the first thing that popped in my head, this isn't exactly dreamed of doing. Well, it's something I've wanted to do for since I was a kid. I've wanted to visit, I'll say the two places, Machu Picchu in Peru and Pompeii in Italy. I've wanted to visit both those places since I was a little kid. And one day I'll get to it. But why haven't I done it? I don't have a good answer for that, to be honest. We were so close in the Czech Republic, and we even drove to Venice once, and we didn't. It's not that it was right next door to Pompeii, but like we were in the vicinity. You know what I mean?
You're in the right country, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that. I really, if I have one regret living in Europe as long as I did, is we didn't travel more. Like we did some traveling, but we could have done more. Peru, I don't know, man, but I really got to get down there because they're already like making stuff off limits because jackass tourists are like wrecking the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a place that I've wanted to visit for a long time, both places, and I will get to them eventually. It is a bucket list item, and I don't even have a bucket list, but those are definitely two places that I like to go to.
So Pompeii had never crossed my mind really, as I mean, I don't really know what there is to visit. I assume that there's ashes and things and lava and lava in shapes of people. I don't know. So I don't know what there is to see there, but I have made it to Machu Picchu and it was wonderful.
Yeah. When did you go?
We went, I want to say 9 years ago. So shortly after we got married, I think, and abandoned the kids and went there on our own. Yeah.
Well, I envy that destination because it's been on my list for a long time. I will say though, so Pompeii as a selling point to visit, it's or what is the other place called? Herculaneum.
Hercules.
Yeah, it's another town that doesn't get as much attention, but it was also completely destroyed by Mount Vesuvius in like 79 or something like that. I don't know when the volcano erupted, but anyway, a reason to go is for those of you who don't know, and maybe you don't know, Skip. I think it was discovered in the early 1900s or the late 1800s, and they were building like a road or something, and they kept hitting these air pockets when they were like puncturing into the ground, and so they ended up filling them up with concrete. And when they'd fill them up with concrete, it was where people had like asphyxiated to death from the volcanic gas or ash or whatever, and they were covered by ash. And they just decompose there. And so it's just like a hollow imprint of a person like in a state of agony, and they just fill it with concrete.
That's the thing I was trying to say when I said ash and lumps like people, or that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. So, and it's not just people, it's also like dogs, and like you see like people in like slave quarters, and you just see a snapshot, and not just the people, but you see the town was completely covered. So once all that sediment was scraped away, there's like carbonized loaves of bread like still in place on their dishes where people just booked it and they got out of there. And there's like one I saw recently was it's this beautiful looking like sourdough bread with the baker's stamp on it, like he or she like stamped it and then baked it, and you still see the guy's name on the bread, you know what I mean? And it's fully black because it's been carbonized, but it's not damaged in any way. So yeah, and then the roads and the buildings, I mean, they're in a state of disrepair, obviously, but like a lot of it's like you've seen Roman life in a way that hadn't been seen before because it was completely preserved. So yeah, that's a reason to go to Pompeii, and that's why I'd like to visit at some point. Well, that's very cool, and that is a good reason to visit. All right, I'll put it on my list.
Put it on your list. Let me pull up my question. So
I will say that I didn't have Pompeii on my list, but what I did have on my list before we lived in Indiana for a year, when I was going to school, I wanted to see the Freddie Mercury statue in in Switzerland. And so before we moved, I made a point to make it there and go and visit my Mecca, which is like Montreux, and see that Montreux in Switzerland and see the Freddie Mercury statue, because I love Freddie Mercury and Queen. So
yeah, same.
yeah.
Why do they have a statue of him though? Like, was there? Like...
Yeah, they had a recording studio up there. They've got like a whole museum.
Okay.
And that's where he did Under Pressure and David Bowie, with David Bowie. And
yep.
It wasn't even supposed to, David Bowie was just kind of like around. They were like, do you want to do this with us? And yeah. And it ended up being, what I think is maybe one of the greatest songs of all time, because those two guys singing together is just tremendous. But yeah. So yeah, I wanted to go visit that. And there's just like sort of a Mecca, something I wanted to see.
Well, I'm not going to let you squirm out of this question, because that can't be the one, because you've done it. So is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time, and why haven't you done it?
Yes. I've wanted to build a house, and the main reason I haven't done it is because I don't know how, and I don't have any money. I mean, I have some money, but not enough money to build a house. Yeah. But I do want to start on that path, and I have on my list for tomorrow to sign up for like a woodworking class, that I can start learning to use tools, like in a more let's see, adept manner.
I'd say practical way. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've done a lot of like around the house stuff. I can do, like, I've even changed some electrical things and in my time, even though that can be kind of scary. And I've done plumbing and I've done some basic building stuff, but I've never done anything beyond what you can kind of figure out with just logic and your brain. Yeah. So yeah, I want to start moving more steadily towards that goal. I'd be happy even to build like furniture, and I've looked up like online courses to learn how to build furniture.
Nice, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out how to make that happen, especially now that our summer trip's over.
So you're signed up then? You've already like registered?
No, it's on my list to sign up tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I'll be checking back in next week to find out where you're at. All right, Skip. I got a question for you, unrelated to our falling in love questions, and that is, I mean, it's been on our list for a long time, so maybe you've thought of something, but otherwise, I'm putting you on the spot. Is there something about yourself that you've really worked hard to change?
Yeah. And it's something I'm still working on. I have a little bit of a temper, and it's not like I like completely fly off the handle. I don't like lose control, and I'm not violent or anything like that. But I do have a temper. And like over the years, I've tried to work on that. It's something I come by honestly. Other people in my family have had tempers, and I've whether through genetics or learning it, I can like get upset really, really quickly sometimes, or it doesn't seem quick, but then like the dam breaks suddenly, yeah. So I'm not like a monster. I don't spend a lot of time yelling at people or anything, but like it's definitely something that I've continually worked on throughout my life to like be, I don't know, be less temperamental. That's not the right word.
I got you,
but yeah, be more calm and even and zen-like.
Okay.
Because I'm very good at it, like work, no problem, things like that. But like, every once in a while, my kids will get on my nerves. I'm like, would you just quit that? And I'd like to be more patient with my kids and stuff.
I think
like that.
So. Yeah. I'm not suggesting that it's okay to lose your temper with your kids, but I think you're probably in the company of most parents when you lose patience with a kid. I mean, unless you're throwing them around, that's a whole other thing. No. But like, I mean, if you're, whatever, it's you're a parent and you got a couple kids. That's Give yourself a
Yeah.
break is what I'm trying to say.
Well, no, I think that it's normal for a lot of parents, but I think I could do a better job, and it's
Yeah. Okay.
something, it's something that I'd like to keep working on. And there have been times when I was younger, I'd lose my temper more. Not
Right.
like again, not anything crazy,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'd like to be more cool and collected and controlled than I am. Yeah.
Well, how have you worked on it then? Like, what is there anything you can actually pinpoint that you've made a change?
No, I just try and be more patient. I mean, it's
Okay.
just more of a trying to be conscious of it and
Okay.
like be conscious of it, and also, what's the first step's admitting the problem, like
Right. Right. Right.
not trying to rationalize it as much. Like, I'm really
And
pissed off because this and this
yes.
and this and this,
Yeah.
and like trying like and you know those things often are true, and often they are good reasons to be upset. But at the same time, I'd like to just be somebody that was in more control and able to deal with
Right.
things more calmly, and not like get fed up with something and
Yeah.
get upset.
Well, I think you really nailed it with not rationalizing your anger,
Yeah.
because yeah, you can get pissed off, and I've had temper problems throughout my life as well. I think I'm pretty good now. I think, but yeah, part of that would be rationalizing that, well, I'm mad because of this reason, rather than letting it go or just moving on. Like, well, no, the reason I'm pissed off is because of
Hmm.
this thing that you did. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's super unhealthy to not acknowledge that, and to I think, yeah, that clears it away once you. And what the other thing is too is, I've always found that when I would lose my temper, it was always with people that were going to put up with it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like a partner or a
Right.
sibling or whatever. But like, if you think about that, like, I wouldn't lose my temper with you,
Right.
because you're going to be like, Who the fuck do you think you are?" You know what I mean? Like, we're not friends. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Yeah.
not going to stick around for me being an asshole. So yeah, the way I see it is, if I can control myself around like others who aren't going to put up with like my shittiness, I should be able to do the same thing with the people that love me, and respect them more, because that's really what it
Yeah.
comes down to. Is if you're losing your temper with somebody because you can, you're just not respecting them. And yeah, I mean, put in that perspective, yeah, there's really no reason to lose it, or just to walk away and like cool off for a bit, and then you can
Yeah.
return to the problem.
Yeah. It's not always so easy, especially with kids. But
No, no,
yeah.
yeah, that's spoken from a very comfortable, childless environment that I'm in
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, kids have a way of pressing all the buttons, and they'll just find it and press 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 it, press it, press it, press it. But yeah, yeah, I'd still like to be cooler.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's my thing.
it's a good answer.
Um, well, what's so I'm gonna ask you, because I'm just curious, because this is kind of a general question, but I did want to ask you something else. But is there something is there something about yourself that you've worked hard to change?
Yeah, I was lots of stuff, man. Like, I've one of them also is my temper. When I was younger, I had a really, really explosive temper, and my
Mm.
dad has had. Well, I guess he still does. I don't know if he still does, but when I was a kid, he had a really explosive temper, and so yeah, that was one thing. But I feel like I became aware of that really, really young, and I
Mm.
worked on that for a long time. But I think, how can I describe it? I guess I think how I treat women has been something that I've worked on changing. And that's not to say that I was an asshole before necessarily, but like, yeah, like I had said, that article that I had cited some time ago, "Why Women
Mm-hmm.
Aren't Crazy." I
Yeah.
realized a lot of the gaslighting behavior, that this article was describing, was behavior that I was actively doing to women. And yeah, so that's something that I really, really worked, not even that I really worked hard to change. Once I was aware of it, it became pretty easy for me to like shut the hell up when I'm in the process of gaslighting a woman.
Yeah.
And I've actually apologized to women. Like, I'm in the middle of like saying something. I'm like, "Oh, you know what? You're right. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. That was stupid and that was sexist." And I've made apologies to people before for, yeah, being in the middle of doing that. So yeah, that's something that I've worked on, and I'm happy to say I'm not perfect, and I still have moments of like, putting my foot in my mouth in relationship to gender and sex and everything. But yeah, I think that's, to answer your question, that's been the most recent one anyway, is changing the way I sort of interact and view myself and how I respond to women.
All right. Should we call it there, or should I ask you a question? Or
let's do a quick joys. How about that? Let's do
okay, quick joys.
Quick joys.
So what's bringing you joy this week, Carlos?
That's easy one. In about an hour, I have an appointment for applying for my Canadian passport, and
Woo!
which isn't a big deal, but like I'm a citizen now, and this passport's going to be the first like tangible document that I can like wave around and show that I am Canadian. And I just renewed my American one, so when I go to the U.S. in a couple of months or a month and a half or so, I can skate in with my American passport. When I come back, I'll put that one away and skate back into the country with my Canadian passport. And I feel pretty darn good about it. Do you have a Czech passport?
I sure do. I just did that process like 2 days ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Did we talk about that? I feel like maybe we briefly talked about that recently.
No, I left on my U.S. passport and came in through the EU gate nice. When I got here with my little one and my wife and my older boy, who is now a citizen, but he hasn't gotten his passport yet. They had to go through the slow line for the non-EU.
How funny would all three? How funny would all three of you guys had to leave Jess in the nosebleed aisle?
Well, hopefully she'll be a citizen sometime soon because she did apply. So.
Oh, okay, good. And she's got the language all down. Like, I know you have to reach a certain threshold.
Yeah, I mean, she passed her language test. We'll say that. Like, neither one of us is what you'd call fluent, but we both passed the language test and got far enough.
Well, cool. Yeah. What's bringing you joy this week?
What is bringing me joy this week? Being home is pretty nice, and it's not even too hot. So that's pretty nice. I think I had something else, but I think that's kind of the big one for me. Is just after being in the US for 3 weeks, just decompressing, coming back, having my fizzy water again. I missed so much. I missed my fizzy water so much in the US. But just kind of relaxing, starting to clean out my body again after all the snacks and fast food and Tex-Mex and everything that we were trying to get in, American breakfast, all that stuff. Now it's like, all right, it's time for salad and water.
It's time to squeeze all that out again.
Yeah.
Well, nice, man. I guess that's the end. Thanks for joining us. New podcasts every Monday. If any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com, Instagram, or Facebook. Please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast, or recommend us to a friend. We hope you'll come back.
Ciao.
That's true. Okay. I got to go pee. Do you want to do it?
I do too.
Okay.
I'm going to go down to the street and I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm going to go out to the playground. I'll be right back as well.